This summer, I will be attending my 5th WCQ in a row. I've attended every single WCQ since 2013 when I started trying at regionals, and because of this, I feel like I'm pretty qualified to talk about a couple things that happen at the event, especially if you've never been to one before. But what I want to focus on the very first part of this video is LCQs. Now, I'm putting the schedule for the Friday events on the screen right now. You can see that there's a ton of cool side events, like Attack of the Giant card is really popular. Win-a mats are pretty cool. Starter deck tournaments you can win some cool mats at. But the very top one is the Last Chance Qualifier, 16-player flights. They cost $10 to enter, and they go from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Now, that 4 p.m. Time right there is meant for not when they have to be done by, but when the last registration happens. Now, LCQs, if you don't know what they are, and I'll put the description of them here. They are, if you don't have your invite to the WCQ, this is how you get it. Now, maybe you couldn't attend a lot of regionals this past season, or maybe you got screwed out of tiebreakers and got 33 or something. But if you need to get your invite, this is your last chance. This is the last chance qualifier to get it. And you'll have to go 4-0 in the event. There's no second place or anything, so it's only the first one out of every 16 people will get their invite to the WCQ. And there's a couple things that I think people might miss if they don't read through the FAQ, and I'll link that in the description if I can remember. If they don't read the FAQ on the main site, you might miss a couple things. So the first one is that if you already have your invite and you enter the LCQ, you actually forfeit your invite. So you can take the LCQ challenge, I suppose, and try to get first, and then if you don't get first, you lose your invite and you can't enter the main event. I think that's really dumb, though, so if you have your invite, just don't enter the event. I think that they do this because otherwise you could get 15 of your friends and they could all enter the LCQ with you, and then you could basically, cheat. You'd pretty much be cheating because you would just have all your friends scoop to you and then you would get your invite. So I think that's why they put that in there. So you'd have to get like 15 people that also don't have their invite, stuff like that. So that's really important. The other thing that I think is important is that there's no limit on how many LCQs you can enter, but you can only register for one at a time. What this means is you can't enter like four, because they're usually staggered when they start. So you can't enter 4 at a time, just in case like you lose round 1 in the first one you enter, and then you can immediately jump over to round 2. So I would say that if you get there at 10 and you don't go like to the very last round for all of them, like let's say you lose in the first or second round of a couple of them, you could probably play 4, maybe 5. I think last year we got there at like 1 in the afternoon, or 2 years ago, sorry. 2 years ago we got there 1 in the afternoon, and my friend was able to play 2 pretty easily, and he won the second one. I never actually played an LCQ, just so I don't have a ton of experience playing in them, but I do have some other strategies here. So the other important thing is that you don't need to refill out your deck list every time that you enter one. You just ask the judge to get your deck list back. And then the most important thing that a lot of people miss and get blindsided by is that you don't have to use the exact deck list that you played in the LCQ for the WCQ, but you do have to write down your deck list for the WCQ immediately after you finish your LCQ, and I cannot stress how important this is. What that means is that if you borrow a deck from like your friend or something, you better have another deck ready so that you know what you're playing for the WCQ. They give you a little bit of time, but for the most part, you pretty much just have to fill it out right there. So if you don't have all the cards you need, you better really consider writing them on the list, because if you write them on the list, you can't change it, so you'd have to buy them from someone, and prices on Friday for cards are pretty insane. But the main thing here is that if you borrow a deck from a friend, please make sure you know what you're playing if you get your invite. This isn't a problem for everyone. Maybe you're playing the same deck card for card that you played in the LCQ for the WCQ, but for a lot of people, I think that if you don't have your invite by now, you might not, maybe you didn't have like the meta decks throughout this past season, so maybe you want to borrow it from your friend that actually has his invite so that you can just get yours and then play whatever. But make sure you know that you have to have a new deck ready. This catches so many people off guard. It's really funny. I think, and the other important thing is that if if you want to make any changes to your deck list, you have to decide them right then and there, which can be an issue. I mean, maybe if you've been testing your deck a while, it's not a huge issue, but even if in like the LCQ you like notice like one card's like really bad or something, you'll just want to switch it up. Now, the other piece of strategy I can give for the actual LCQ itself is that because it's a 4-round tournament, you can get away with a lot more inconsistent strategies. I'm sure Pure Zoo is probably the best option, but you can definitely get away with some cheesier decks that you wouldn't be able to get away with in the original tournament, or sorry, not in the original tournament, in the main tournament, just because it is only 4 rounds, so consistency isn't as important. I would say that dinosaurs would probably be pretty popular in this particular event, just because dinosaurs are obviously more inconsistent than Zodiac, but they're also very powerful and can create some pretty crazy first turn boards. So I'd watch out for those and sort of tune your side deck to make sure that you have cards prepared for those more sacky matchups. You don't just get blown out of the water, because you only have to win 4 games, or 4 matches, I should say. So you can just get away with a lot more. And that also could apply to people playing like the True Draco Zodiac deck as opposed to just Pure Zoo, because the True Draco one's a lot more powerful, just a little more inconsistent. Now, for everyone else, and also the people like it, the LCQ, I suppose, the participation prize for this, in general, is this mat that has spirals on it. I don't think it's like the best mat. I don't think it's the worst mat. I think it's, I mean, obviously I would have liked Subterras on it, but it's not terrible. It looks kind of cool. I like the comic style. The colors look really nice, but that's the participation prize. And then you also get WCQ sleeves. I believe they're teal this year, but those sleeves are always really good, and a lot of people end up selling their sleeves. They usually go up in value over the years, so unless you have someone that's going to buy it for a pretty high amount on Friday or Saturday or Sunday, maybe you set it up for someone at home that couldn't make it. But if you don't sell it right away, I would probably hold off, because they do tend to go up in price over the years. Now, the other thing is that if you register on Friday, which I would highly suggest, you get a one of these dice. So I believe these were in the OCG, but they're moving them over to TCG. This is going to be a new thing for Julia has said, that Julia being the judge program manager, she said that at every YCS after this one, I believe, this is going to be a new Friday incentive for pre-registering, and you get a random dice. I don't know how much these are going to cost on the secondary market. I would almost think like $30 to $40, because you get a random one. So it takes 6 people, assuming that everyone got no duplicates. It would take 6 people to get a whole set, and they have to pre-register. So that's kind of rough, and but it's really cool, and I think they're really neat, and I'm going to try to pick up a set, maybe trade for them. It's going to be tough, though. I think a lot of people are going to want to get them. And then the other thing that they don't have a picture of is that Dual C Register for Friday will also be eligible to receive a World Championship Qualifier 2017 souvenir card game ID card, personalized with your name and card game ID number from both gifts. So that, if you haven't known, I don't know the last time they did these sort of personalized ones. I have one from 2013, and I thought they did them every year, but apparently they didn't, because they just stopped doing them. But these are really nice. I guess a lot of people still use the black Cossi ID cards. And if you don't know, we switched over to card game ID. You can set it up online. There's directions on the main Yu-Gi-Oh website for that. But your card game ID number is exactly the same as your Cossi ID. There's just some added benefits to having a card game ID. But anyway, I would definitely suggest registering on Friday, unless you're really unsure about your deck, because both of these gifts are really unique, and especially the card game ID. I don't know if that'll be at regular YCSs. I actually think it won't be at regular YCSs. It's usually something they just do for WCQs, and so that's some extra incentives there. Now, the very last thing that I wanted to mention is that these are the registration times for the main event. So you have Friday from noon to 7, and that's pretty standard. But on Saturday, they're closing registration 1 hour earlier than they have in the past. So registration actually closes at 8:45 on Saturday. So in the past, it's been 9:45, and we haven't started until noon, because 1 million people wait in line until the very last second to register, even though they know all their deck and stuff. So make sure you're there. I mean, it opens at 7, and I would just get in there early. And from what I've seen, the reasoning for this is that they want to start the main event as close to 10 as humanly possible, and there's actually just no other way to do that than start it at 8:40 or end the registration at 8:45. I don't know. I think it's a good idea. I think a lot of people are going to be pissed about round 1 losses, but last year, especially because there were Monarchs and that was like really slow, the day 1 on Saturday didn't end until after midnight, and that's just really bad for players and judges and all the employees that are there. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I really wanted to share some of my tips and tricks for the LCQ and the main event into one video. I usually do this every single year, but now that I have a much bigger audience than I have in the past, I thought it'd be especially important, and because I've noticed a lot of people in my recent videos commenting saying that they're going to LCQ on Friday, so I wanted to sort of share some things that might not be super obvious. Anyway though, I will see you guys later. Bye.